Добрий день.
Good afternoon. I want to thank everybody who joins us. Ukraine Media Center Ukrinform starts its operation today. My name is Olga Atamanova, and it's year 9 of the war and day 268 of the heroic resistance of the Ukrainian people. Our brief schedule for today is as follows: 12:30. Joining us in person will be Alona Lunova, Advocacy Manager at Zmina Human Rights Center, and we will talk about the experimental procedure for issuing certificates for the return of the Ukrainians who were forcibly deported to the Russian Federation. At 2:30, joining us in person will be Genduz Mamedov, expert on national and international criminal law, candidate of law, Deputy Prosecutor General in 2019-2021, and we will discuss the resolution of the court, the yesterday's resolution, as to the shutdown MH17 Malaysian Boeing at 1500. We will have Alexander Harchenko join us, the director at the Energy Industry Research Center, and we'll talk about the current situation with the power supply in our country. And joining us online right now is Mykola Lukashuk, chair of the Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council, deputy chair of the Dnipropetrovsk Defense Council. Good afternoon. Good afternoon, dear journalists. Mr. Mykola, today we know that Dnipropetrovsk region found itself under the shelling of the occupiers. There were strikes inflicted on Nikopol. There was a horrible strike on Dnipro yesterday. What are the consequences? What's the situation in the region? The situation is under full control. If we take it from starting from Monday, Nikopol region suffered the most. If we count, there were more than 250 different shells from MLRS and heavy artillery. It's Nikopol and several communities of the Nikopol region. Yesterday, one big industrial facility was under strike. Everybody saw it. Mr. President posted it. 15-year-old girl went through surgery. One woman had a heart attack, and yet another industry facility was hit by the strike. There was a strike on the civil infrastructure, and yesterday the situation was real terrible. Mr. Mykola, what is the current situation with those who are in the hospitals now? Do they have all the necessary aid? Do they receive all the necessary help? And what's going on with the critical infrastructure in the region? Well, first of all, everybody received necessary aid. Everybody who is at the hospital were provided emergency medical help. But it's 9 people in total. Their condition is stable, but they're still not being signed out. Those who needed went through surgery. As to the critical infrastructure, we suffered 2 shellings today. There was damage of the critical infrastructure in Kryvyi Rih, a big power infrastructure facility which covered the needs for power supply for the large part of the region. And starting from Tuesday, there are issues with the power supply in the region. Talking about yesterday, after yesterday's strike, we had about 300,000 people without lights, or like 300,000 clients, which covers more than 1 million people. We had stabilization power shutdowns, and we received all the necessary support from head of communities in terms of energy savings. So I expect the situation to stabilize within 2 or 3 days. Nikopol and Marganets find themselves under strikes and shellings very frequently. Don't you want to initiate evacuation there? We're communicating with the mayor of Nikopol on a daily basis. It's a big industrial city. There are very big, powerful industrial facilities which keep operating even under strikes. People receive their salaries there, which is relatively high. Some of them receive 20,000 hryvnias, so the lowest rate is about 14,000 hryvnias. So that's why, as of today, everybody takes care of tomorrow to have something to survive tomorrow. So the large number of people evacuated, about 70% of the people, and large fraction of the population evacuated from Marhanets. So they evacuated to other communities where enemy's shells do not reach. Once again, I want to remind you that the shells are being committed from Energodar region. There is a big water reservoir in that region between Zaporizhia region and Dnipropetrovsk region. The distance is from 4 to 19 kilometers. So this is the distance of damage that can be reached by both artillery and MLRS. However, the people leave for the night because they understand that there might be bombardments. There is a large number of chats they communicate. There are warnings from regional administrations, but they come during the day to work under conditions like those because the industry keeps operating and the businesses keep paying salaries to the people. What about the situation with counter-sabotage measures? We know that such measures are being taken in the Dnipropetrovsk region. Maybe you can comment in brief about the results of such actions. I can tell you in a different way. The security service of Ukraine in Dnipropetrovsk region works on a very large scale, but comments as to their operation should come from them, because during this war we can see that within the last month this work is very intense. Regarding the internal refugees, we know that Dnipropetrovsk region became a shelter for many people who were forced to leave their houses, their dwellings. What are the problems you're facing in this regard? We see that the dynamic is about 5,000 people who were listed in the social services. We had 364, 365, so in total it's 370 now. And in my opinion, those are the people who did not register previously, but now they register in order to receive the payments from the government. So people do not leave the region. So, and the current dynamic is plus 5,000 because, just like I mentioned, Nikopol, Kamensk, Kryvyi Rih, and Pavlograd are big industrial centers, not of only our region, but now that the major part of the country is destroyed, the people stay specifically in this region, in Dnipropetrovsk region. Dear colleagues, your questions. Good afternoon, Olga Panasenko, Ukrinform. Can you please specify? We understand the situation with Nikopol, but about the other cities in Dnipropetrovsk region, people do not want to evacuate from there, even notwithstanding the destruction of the critical infrastructure installations and problems with power and heating supply. Well, our people is so courageous that if we say about the breakdown by communities, there are two powerful centers, and we see the internal dynamics across the region when a large part of the population remains in Dnipro and Kryvyi Rih. In Dnipro, it's 150. There was 150,000. Now it's 135,000. So people keep coming back. On Tuesday, after the rocket strikes, 4 coal mines remained without power supply. There was a rescue operation to rescue 446 miners, but the very next morning they came to work again. And the same situation with all the businesses, all the industry facilities which were hit by the rockets. national police and emergency service provided the permit for work, and people come back to work again. Mr. Mykola, what about the heating supply? Did you make it launching the heating supply across the whole region? Well, we have heating for several weeks already. Like last week, we had a big meeting with the regional administration about the readiness of the critical infrastructure installations to the rocket strikes. The representatives of Kryvyi Rih Gas and Dnipropetrovsk Gas and DTEC were present at the meeting. So those are the enterprises who provide power and heating supply for our citizens. So the region is ready. We have plans of measures developed with regard to the situation of how the water supply is provided in terms of shutdowns. All our hospitals are connected to the generators. We have the generators deployed. So when there were power shutdowns yesterday and the day before, and on Tuesday, all the socially important installations like hospitals, they have power supply. The plan is developed even for the critical time. There are 400 heating stations across the regions, and there is a plan to protect all these facilities in case of strikes, for example, on the pump stations. So everybody knows what to do in any case. The mayor of every city, all the authority in both Kryvyi Rih, Pavlograd, Kamensk, there is a plan of measures developed for them. I cannot disclose this information, but the region is ready for everything. Mr. Mykola, thank you for joining us. Dear colleagues, I want to remind you, we had Mykola Lukashuk join us, the chair of Dnipropetrovsk Regional Council. Our next briefing is at 12:30. Bear with us.